I'm going to ask the chairman of our presidium and the Rav and the Rosh Kollel of Coalition of Rabbi, Rav Yaakov Class, to the trustee.
We received in the email a letter that went out to the Spivak family, and this was from the Rav Haroshi, the Rishon LeZion, Rav Yitzchak Yosef. We know that Yitzchak Yosef is himself a great goyim, the Mechaber of IGUD Rabbi. He has the schus others, but he has his own schus, and we and in the IGUD have been very supportive. We have a very strong kesher with the two Rabbanim Roshim, with Rav Yitzchak Yosef and Rav David Lang. We have a very strong kesher with the IGUD. We've been greatly in support of them, and in fact, between Rav Hecht, my chaver on the Seus, myself, and Rav Spivak, says the Tzaddik L'Vracha, we have written so many, literally, psakim, we have written on behalf of the Rabbanut, in support of the Rabbanut. If there is no Rabbanut in Eretz Yisrael, and they go completely civil, then you can imagine what it dashes all of our hopes. You know, they say in the Tefillah, Reishis Smichas Gulasenu, which we say it in my shul. In my shul, we say the Tefillah for the Medina. It will not be if there is not a Rabbanut. The Rabbanut is crucial. And Rabbi Spivak was very crucial in that particular fight. Let me read you the letter that Rav Yitzchak Yosef writes. Mishpachas lichvod mishpachas, I should say it in this hishprach, lichvod mishpachat Spivak hayikara v'rabanei IGUD Rabbanim d'Amerika, Artzot Habrut. B'tzar Rav kibalti et habsura al ptirato shel harav hagadol. Ma'oz umigdol. Gavro Rabo v'Yakiro Hagoon Rav Yaakov David Spivak Zatzal Nisi IGUD Rabbanim d'Amerika v'Rosh Kollel Eshel Abraham שנפטר לבית עולמו באופן פתאומי. בפטירתו לבית עולמו נושא הרב עמו שנים רבות של עמידה בתוקף בשמירה על מסורת ישראל, סבא, ללא שום שינוי מהמסורה שניתנה לנו בסיני, ועמד בפרץ נגד כל אותם גורמים שביקשו לשלוח יד ולסלף חס ושלום את תורת ישראל, והרביץ ולימד תורה לרבים עשרות בשנים, כי חיים הם למוצאיהם, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. הנני מנחם את משפחתו החשובה ואת הרבנים החשובים ואת והמסורים שלא יוסיפו לדאבה עוד ויזכו לראות בנחמת ציון וירושלים ומוחה השם אלוקים דימה מעל כל פנים ונזכה לגאולת עולמים במהרה אמן בברכת התורה יצחק יוסף הראשון לציון הרב הראשי לישראל. Okay, I had to say it in his sprach because it brings him into the room. He's in the room here now. The other one who is in the room here now, you could look around, you might not see him, is none other than Rabbi Yaakov David, Hagoyim Rabbi Yaakov David Spivak. He's in the room. You know, the nusach that we use when we are menachem oven, we say, Hamakom yinachem eschem v'soich shah v'leitzim Yerushalayim. Interesting. I've seen people who are women, so they say eschem. They say eschem. No. Chazal had a set text This was the text that we use. I've seen people that for a yachid, they say Azkara or Azach. No, that's not the text. The text is Eschen. And I once was wondering why specifically that text. Why can't the text literally depend on the situation? And if it's singular, so I was told by a chaver of mine, a Rav in the neighborhood when I lived in Borough Park, the Etcher the Rav, who was he is, so as I'm gesund, he's not 100% well now, but a Tyree, Yitzchak Teitelbaum, he's a wonderful person. He said, the Loshen is Rabbi, because even if a Yochid, if einer sitzt allein, sitzt nicht allein. The Neshama sitzt neben him. He's not sitting alone. The Neshama is here. When we are making from the IGUD Rabbi, we are his heirs. We are his family. The IGUD Rabbi was part of his life. He gave so much to the IGUD. When we speak about him, he came in the door and he joined us, and he is here. And that's why you have to be very careful with the hesped that you say, because he's in Olam Emes. And if we say something that's not Emes, he will not be happy with us. There's a beautiful Gemara in Shabbos, Kufay Amid Beis. And it's a Gemara that everyone knows. Kol hamis'atzo behespedai shel chacham. People who they're lazy, they're really not involved, they wait with it. Behespedai shel chacham einay marich yom. If you literally lag, if you do not do properly with the mace, the hesped, the chacham, what is deserving, what he's deserved to have such a hesped, einay marich yomim, you will not be marich yomim. No. My mashkiach Zichron Levracha, Rav Hirsch Feldman, says on this shtickle Gemara, he said, it doesn't say darshan shaloi shehitz atzol behespeda shel chacham. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that you have to be a darshan. It doesn't say you have to be a rav. Kol. Every Jew has that chiyuv, the chiyuv to make that hesped. Aber es ist eigentlich, wir können stehen ein ganzer Tag und jeder eine wird raten. Efshe, ve'efshe. Aber the one that gets up to speak, so kommt der Chais, that the one that's speaking becomes the shaliach. He becomes the shaliach of the tzibur. Just like the shaliach tzibur davens and he's moitzios, so the one that makes the hesped, he fulfills my obligation of hesped. Some people might feel that no, it's only he made the hesped only noch dem shita, aber ich halt an andere shita. So then he gets up and he also speaks. But Lamaisa, when we make a hesped, it's not a leichte zach, it's not something that is so insignificant, it's something that is very significant. Rabbi Yaakov David, he and I, we would have conversations. I'll be honest, our conversations were not a conversation of, yes, okay, goodbye. I knew when he called me, and he knew when I called him, that this was not a 5-minute conversation. The conversation often, and I had this with many of my chaverim, did not last less than an hour. Never less than an hour, our conversations. And the conversation would be Torah, a bissel milsa b'bdichasa, you have to, we're flesh and blood, so we have to, we have to make ourselves very comfortable with each other, and we used to constantly. But I would like to read, and this to a degree will describe the Choshev HaNifter, a passage from the Heilige Badicheva, the Kedushas Levi. I love to follow the Kedushas Levi, because I myself, I'm also like Rabbi Spivak. I'm from 2 different places, but his 2 different places were both in Lita. One was Slobodka, and the other was Abyssal Mir and Nevadik. Mine is Abyssal from Lita, from my father's side, and from my yeshiva, from the Mir Yeshiva, my Rabbeim, Zichron Levracha, who I owe everything to. Rabbi Avram Kalmanovich, Zeichat Tzadik Levracha, his son, Reb Shagomoshe Kalmanovich, Reb Shmuel Birnbaum, Reb Shmuel Budner, Reb David Kviyat. These were all Reb David Kviyat. You ever go into a farm store, and what do you see? It takes up 2 whole shelves. Sukas David, all over the place. In my shul, the people are zeicher that because I'm a Talmud, so I quote from him very often. I'll be ich stam euch. From the andere side, from the Hasidim, I come from the Rebbes. I come from the Rebbes. So when I look into the Kedushas Levi, I approach it with a whole different attitude. This is he brings a Medrash Tanchuma, and I must say it completely. V'yadua ha'maisa shehuva b'Medrash Tanchuma. It's known, the maisa that's found in the Medrash Tanchuma in Parshas Emor will be Yerushalmi, and it's Yerushalmi as well. Okay, Shahalach at Alexander Muktam. Alexander is great. Okay, Le'eza Medina. He went to a certain Medina. Now, I'm not sure which Medina, but I have a feeling where it was. Ubar Sham Shnayim Lidin. 2 came before the king for a judgment. The kings in those days were able to issue judgment. We know Shlomo Melech was mamish, he was really in many ways the head of the Supreme Court, because people went to him. Okay? Mehamedina. Okay, Echod Kona Mechaveira. Many of you know this particular Maisa, but I'm telling it over anyhow. Echad Kona Mechaveira Churva. He bought a churva. He bought, you know that in New York City, there's a rule. If you want to build a new house, so first you have to make it into a churva. That leaves 1 wall. Why do you leave 1 wall? Because if you leave that 1 wall, it remains taxed at the original tax. They don't change the tax. It's interesting. So that's why. So every new house in New York City, and that's in all 5 boroughs, very often starts off as a churva, because you have to leave that 1 wall. So this one bought a churva. He was going to build on the churva. He's going to build a new house. Okay. Umatza ba'aitza. He found in the vent, he found an aitza. He found a treasure. He wanted to return it to the one who sold it to him, who sold him the churva. When I went to buy this churva, I only had in mind to buy a churva. What's that churva? Maybe 10,000 today. That's $10,000. Well, no. Today a churva is also about $400,000 or $500,000. Then you have to spend it. Am I wrong? Or is it 800,000? Then you have to spend another 800,000. But okay, whatever it was in Jena Zeiten, a churva hatte gekauft a churva is but so billig, a sach billiger wie der Oitzer hat wert. much less than what the value of the Eitzah. Okay? Okay? But listen to the shock. Vayimayin ha-meichel likach ha'eitzah. The meichel did not want to take the Eitzah. He didn't want to take it. But listen to this one. Shebedaita Yehoya be'eis ha-mechira, that at the time he came to sell. Shemeichel le'hachurva, he's selling him the churva, v'chol ma shebeseicha, whatever's in it. U'pasak, listen to this. U'pasak ha-melech, okay? V'ama, and the melech gave his psak. Whatever the psak was over there, I should have looked in the medrash to see what the psak was in the end, but
King took it.
What?
The king took it. The king took it.
Could be. I don't know. No, I don't think so. No, that's not what happened. Could be the melech paskin yachloiku azevi shleima melech paskin with the king. Could be. V'ama Alexander, and Alexander was observing. He was the guest king, and he was observing this. Shemhaya din zeh b'medina seinu. You know what we would do? We would kill the Meicha. V'halikeach. V'aitzer ginzei HaMelech. We go to the Ginzei HaMelech. That's where it would go. Tell him. Okay? So he looked. V'shalei HaMelech. In Meya HaShemesh b'medinasai. V'yerev mata. If the sun shines in your Medina, and it rains, and it rains. Amalai Alexander, hey, Alexander said yes, it does. We do have rain, we have sun. Amalai Hamelech, Shehid B'Chus HaBehemus. The only reason that you have it is for B'Chus HaBehemus. You don't have it, not B'Chus Chav. Havi Adam U'Behema Tashia Hashem. The pasuk V'Shteit Adam U'Behema Tashia Hashem. A different uptight on the pasuk. We touch. Because we know that even all the nevroim, all of the animals, the birds, everyone, they sing Perik, if they go through Perik Shira, everyone sings something, a praise to the Rabbani Shalom. But he said it the opposite, Adam of Behema Tishir, because of the Behema. The Behema is so thankful that he has rain, and that he has sun, and that he's able to live another day, and he's able to do his function in this world. Bishvil behemas Mashiach Hashem la'adam. For azalecha adam. V'ilo haya machzikinam b'midas emes. But if you would follow the midah of emes, the trait of truth, okay? Your sustenance would completely come from your own merit. Just like in my Medina. That's the way it is in my Medina. It's because the people, we have such great people who, one, does not want to possibly infringe on the possessions of another person. Something so spectacular. With their mouths. Their mouths said what was in their hearts. Their schus was not because of behemoths, which is something that is just takes care of, has a body, a goof, but only physical needs. There's no loftiness. There's no nefesh there. No neshama. There's no neshama. There's nothing there. And then he goes to the Indian of the Bnei Gad and the Bnei Reuven, Peladik and Maisa, and he says, Sha'amru, in Parshas Matos, Sha'amru Gedeiros Tzayin Nivna, okay? They said for the Tzayin before, for the Noshim and the Taf. And so Hiktimu Tzayinam L'Tapam, and the way Rashi says, a person sometimes gets his sustenance for the schus of the behemoth. In Cain, Habehema Yosef b'maylo lo adam. The behema is on a higher madrega than the person. The behema, so the hainu ka'amah adam behema teshia Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu heiru lohem. The pasuk, it's interesting. It's all we just hear it from the psukim, but there was a vikuach between Moshe Rabbeinu and the Bnei Gad Bnei Ruvain. It wasn't. It's not open in the pasuk. It's not open as a conversation, but it's by what he said and what the response was. The response was that what? That Moshe Rabbeinu says to them in a derech yishorish yavaloi ha'adam l'snai kemidas emes lishma piv, to watch his mouth and be very careful what he's saying. L'shaynai l'divrei k'zavim v'loshen hara chas v'shalom v'lachin amalahem benu lachem arim. For the opposite, for the women and for the tough, and then for the day you build also for the son. Moshe Rabbeinu showed them the proper way that everything that comes out of a person's mouth has to be, a person has to literally weigh his words before he says something. It's so crucial. It's important and very crucial to do that. Every conversation with Harav Spivak was a conversation of weighing words. And the truth is, he was fantastic with Tanakh. I would say something, and he would say, oh yeah, it's this pasuk. And this would always be, we'd have such a beautiful give and take. Gemaras, he was all over. If I started quoting a Gemara, he would finish it off. Always that way. That was our conversations. And I have to say that this is something I miss. The Indian of the Cairo will be, and I really did not want any of this responsibility. I'm being honest, I did not want this responsibility. This he told me about a half a year ago. And by the way, you should know, every single time that I would ask him, or Rabbi Yeshua Hecht would ask him to write something, to write a psak or something, he would write it. About 4 months ago, I asked him to write something. And he said no, he won't write it. I called up Mendy, I said, what's going on? I don't understand it. And I did not understand it. Because he was already in a situation that he felt he could not write. That was roughly about 4 months ago. And I didn't comprehend it. And unfortunately, which really, he did not, that's what we're doing today, because of COVID. Because of this COVID, it's COVID-19, and we're already in 21. When we spot on Shahin, say from Brooklyn, New York, or wherever. And guess what? He did not get a hesped, he did not have a levaya. He should have had a levaya with thousands of people. I mean, I had a great nephew who was Nifta this past week. He had a levaya, it's sort of in our pockets. It's when it's covered, He had a levaya moush into the streets. And he didn't get a here, chacham, goyim, tzaddik. He had every attribute. And a pikeach. Oh, pikeach was very, very crucial. If you don't say pikeach, you don't know him. And guess what? He did not have. So that's a little bit of what we're doing today. He begged me and he told me numerous times. He said, I want you to take over the Cairo. He did not want it. And I told him, I said, I'm not Roy, I'm not. He said, yeah, look, he says, I want you to do it. And that's it. And so, what can I do? So together with Rabbi Katz and Yitz Hashem, and of course, Reb Mendel and Reb Moshe, Reb Moshe is actually the president of the Alumni Association, And so by all rights, he has a very big say with the Kohen. He knows all of the Musmachim. And Rab Mendel made him president of the Kohen. That's his title, to be the president of the Kohen, which means he'll write out the checks. So I don't have to worry about any of that. But obviously the Kohen are crucial. Crucial as the Yeshua Hecht and I are sitting here as Chaverim of the Pavilion and together with the other members of our home. The IGUD and the Kohen are two distinct properties. They are not one and the same. The IGUD does not confer smicha on anyone. It happens to be that the Kohen does. The Kohen is a feeder, can be a feeder into the IGUD, just like Yeshiva Torah B'das originally was when the IGUD was founded basically in Yeshiva Torah B'das. And who was it founded by? Well, the former editor of the Jewish Press, Goyen Reb Chaim Uri Lipschitz, the Chaba of the Sefer Uri Chaim, who I have quoted on numerous occasions. So I just want to acknowledge that we have literally, and I feel it's an uphill battle because as Reb Mendel said it very, very carefully. Reb Mendel said it, and I believe Reb Moshe said it too. The smicha to hang on the wall. The smicha is something to spur to action. Someone who needs a smicha because he wants to oif a Klal Yisrael. If someone does not want to oif a Klal Yisrael, if he does not want to accomplish for Achenu B'nai Yisrael, B'nai Yisrael, if he does not want to accomplish for them, then he is not a candidate just to have a document that hangs and doesn't do anything. Rabbi Spivak was a person of accomplishment, many different ways. I know his longtime chava and colleague, and I don't know what would be the proper word to use, Rav Zev.
Broadcaster.
What?
Broadcaster.
Partners in crime. You went through a lot together. You had days when you were involved with Rav Meir Kahana, Hashem Yimkan Domov, who really, I'll never forget. I was at a dinner of the IGUD Israel. I happen to be a life member of IGUD Israel, so I've been at many of the dinners. And that was the time when Rabbi Yosef Mendelevich came out of Tfisa, and they brought him to America. And he had this scarf, and he was holding the whole time. He had this, and he got up to speak. They had him get up to speak. And he said that would it not have been for those demonstrations, and he mentioned the name of Rav Meir Kahana, who literally, he was the one who was forthright in pushing the demonstrations, and of course all the organizations, the SSSJ, I would not be here today. Sitting here on the dais was Rav Yankov Kamenetsky. Rav Yankov Kamenetsky and Rav Taitz, they were two who held all the time, they said it all the time, whereas Rav Moshe would always send a letter, and he didn't come personally, but he would send a letter and I believe the Lubavitcher Rebbe also said, unless I'm wrong, to the SSSJ events. But Rav Yankov and Rav Taitz were against it. You cannot start up with the bear. The bear is Russia. Russia was the bear. In spite of that, Rabbi Yankov got up out of his seat, went over to Rabbi Yosef Mendelevich and gave him a hug. To me, it was the moment of acknowledgement. That to me is a Gracie Yid. A Yid who had a position and he gets up And at that moment, he shows with action, action that everyone can see, that you know what? So such action. Das habe ich nicht gemacht. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay? But Rabbi Yosef Mendelevich, by the way, do you know why he was fingering? Why was he fingering this scarf that he had? He suddenly took out from the corners abakamfas. They didn't allow him to wear abakamfas. You know what he did? He made a hidden abakamfas in a scarf. Oh, it's cold. So it was cold, but they had to have the tfisa. So he had the scarf. That was his abakamfas. The mitzvah. I mean, Pella. And so we know that, and Rabbi Spivak until recently was on the radio, on Reb Zeb's, on the Jewish talk line communications, on Zeb's programs, I should say. It's a network. We have a network. So I just want to conclude with giving the Yashikayach and every single one of you in this room, every single one who found the time. I know today is Mother's Day. Mother's Day is a very important day. Important day to recognize the women, and it's a day maybe. And I'm for Mother's Day. I think it's a wonderful thing. We have to thank all the mothers. Because without mothers, there's no Klal Yisrael. Yichus goes nach der Mama. That's so wichtig and so important. And yet, everyone found their way of being here, and in Yitz Hashem, the Neshama of Yaakov, I'm talking to you as you're standing to my right, I'm assuming, or no, Fakir, you're standing here, I'm standing to your right, Fakir. I won't quibble which way, but we hope, at least before, others are going to speak, I hope that at least I did enough to satisfy, to calm, to give you a nechama, to give you a neshama, a nechama, and to understand and the feeling that all your life's work has not ended, but it's just starting. Right.